Ayer. Y'all know what it is. Y'all know who it is. It's your boy Pharaoh the guy. Always on the motherfucking job. I got five. Let's talk. Real talk. And today, it's about them Russians moving into Cuba. Yeah, man, the Russians is moving into Cuba. They coming close to America. America not liking it. But it's a big story behind it, though, man. You know, I don't want everybody to just think that Russia is moving in on America, or, you know, what is this about? Why is the Russians even moving to Cuba, to Havana? What is they doing over there? Why is they over there? It's a lot of questions that need to be answered. But we're going to get into that today. But before we do that, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell when you do subscribe. And get notified every time I go live, post something, or just hit up a short. Today, like I said, we're going to be talking about Russians and their involvement and movement into Cuba, a portion of the Latin America. Yeah, like I said, though, today we're going to be dissecting this news anchor. They got some people on here today on CBS News. It was real good, and I wanted to share it with y'all. You feel me? It's about 3 minutes long, so you know we're gonna expand that. But the things that they talking about on here, it's something of substance because I'm gonna give the history to it. So it's that time again to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell another motherfucking friend. Share, like, and subscribe to this. Don't miss out on this. Let's get into it.
Aircraft today to track Russian vessels as they make their way to Cuba. That's right. Last week, Moscow launched vessels toward the Caribbean for a series of planned military exercises. However, MarineTraffic.com shows one of the ships came within, get this, 30 miles of Key Largo, Florida. The Biden administration maintains that there is no threat to the U.S. CBS News national security correspondent David Martin joins us from the Pentagon. So, David, we hear there's no threat. We know that this last happened, I believe, in 2019. But
before we continue, I just want to stop it right there because it says 30 miles off of or away from Florida. If you don't know, Havana, Cuba, and Florida is probably 100 miles in distance from each other. Cuba is of its the Latin countries, you know, like Venezuela, Chile, you know, Brazil, things like that. They're a part of the Latin connection, but they're very close in proximity to Florida. This is a key reason of why America has never ever really allowed Russia to intertwine or allow them to get a major or a minor army base in the Isles, in the island of Cuba. Let's roll into some more of this stuff.
The Pentagon sending forces to the Caribbean. Talk to us about the ships that Russia has in the region and what the U.S. ships are expected to accomplish.
Well, in the first place, there's no way the U.S. Navy is going to let a Russian warships operate in its backyard without keeping the.
Now you hear him say there's no way America is going to allow Russia to operate in its backyard. And at the end of him talking, he's going to say a key thing, but it's going to be at the very end of it. He's going to say a key thing of why Russia is in America's backyard. But prior to this instant, the reason America, Cuba, and Russia has been a major topic in politics and in war strategies all throughout and since before and since the Bay of Pigs. it goes the animosity between the Latin countries in America goes all the way back um, to it began to get a lot of notoriety with Fidel Castro and Ernesto Che Guevara. These two were revolutionaries. They were Latin revolutionaries where they were actually Afro Latin revolutionaries due to the fact that Fidel Castro made it a mission to show the connection between the Latin world and the Afro world. That's why he called Cuba an Afro Latin continent. And he tried to formulate this same type of ideal with the rest of the Latin countries that surround him: Venezuela, Brazil, Chile, Colombia. He tried to have this influence on them to show them where they came from and where they're going to go. But by this also, America, with its racist ways, did not want Cuba to become culturally or significantly black, and nor to have Russia as a helper in defending itself. They wanted Cuba to have nobody to defend them because they couldn't defend them. They could uh, not defend them. They couldn't control them. They couldn't, what's the word am I looking for? Conquer. They couldn't conquer Cuba. And you may ask, how can America couldn't conquer Cuba? Um, Cuba had a lot of wars prior to, and we're going to get into this. Um, One of the significant wars between Russia and America that involved Cuba was the War of the Bay of Pigs. I think it was in 1965, 69, something like that. The USSR was trying to back and mobilize military might on the continent of Cuba. They were trying to um, establish a further route of existence like America is always doing. And America didn't like that. So when they went to war, um, it started out, like I said, with Fidel Castro and Che Guevara. What the CIA did is why Fidel Castro left to go fight in Cuba, he left Che Guevara in Bolivia because he was trying to free the Bolivian people from underneath their circumstances. The CIA trained Bolivia. Yes, the CIA, again, is always in somewhere close proximity to murdering very great leaders of the darker nations. So they hunted Che down. They hunted Ernesto Che down. They found him. They tortured him. They tortured him so bad to where his pride wouldn't allow for him to allow his captors to hear him scream in agony and pain. So what he did, he put his fingers in his mouth and he bit the tips of his fingers off so he wouldn't yell and scream in agony in front of his captors that he despised so much. After they end up catching Che Guevara, they end up shooting him in the head. Bolivia returned its might to the dictatorship that they was under. They couldn't get Fidel Castro in Cuba. So what they did was, this is when the Bay of Pigs War started. What they did, they actually sent a cloud, a disease cloud over Cuba. And this is why it's called the Bay of Pigs. They sent a disease cloud over Cuba. And what it did was it affected their number one export and their number one resource of income, which was pigs. That's hence the Bay of Pigs. They sent this cloud, this disease cloud over Cuba, the whole island, to where it killed 75% of their pigs. Now, me being Muslim, alhamdulillah, but this is their people's livelihood. This is how they actually gain income nationally by their pigs. So they sent the cloud over it and it killed off extremely vast proportions of their pigs. So once they did this, I forget the ins and out of everything, but the USSR backed out. Fidel Castro stayed there. The U.S. hit them with embargoes. Russia complied with them embargoes to a certain extent. Now that there's another war going on that is similar to the Bay of Pigs, and it's the war with Ukraine and Russia. But we're going to finish that with this. Let's get into some of this.
Very close track of them. Second, this is a chance to gather intelligence on the Russian Navy. These Russian ships, there are 4 ships, a nuclear-powered submarine, a guided missile frigate, an oiler, and a seagoing tug. They have been conducting...
They not playing. They sent some heavy things. He sent some heavy things over there, like, and that's the thing. That goes to show that Russia's not playing no games these times. That this time around, Russia is not playing. Listen to what Russia sent over there.
Russian ships, there are 4 ships.
4 ships.
Nuclear-powered submarine.
A nuclear-powered submarine.
A missile frigate, an oiler, and
a
seagoing tug. They have been conducting exercises.
A frigate, that's a big boat.
Through the Atlantic, and the Navy will try to monitor that.
And they've just been conducting. They've been conducting so many type of, it's supposed to be a training exercise, but we all know how training exercises go. They go to where they can push their mic to see how things are going. But this one is unlike any other military exercise due to the fact that Russia is going through this particular problem that America is saying that Russia is doing. They're going through the same problem with Ukraine because Ukraine is right next door. There is no sea separating Ukraine from Russia. And Russia told the people of Ukraine, I will give you this land as long as you don't get involved with NATO. This was the rules and regulations and stipulations of why Russia gave that land to the Ukrainians. That land is originally Russian land, but they said, okay, cool. It's like Mexico being connected to the U.S. Okay, cool. Y'all go over there, y'all do what y'all want to, but as long as y'all don't fuck with Russia, it's kind of like the same thing. So now that Ukraine is saying, hey, look, we don't like you, Russia, even though you gave us this land, we want to go fuck with NATO. And Russia's like, nah, y'all can't do that. But America is backing Ukraine. So why not go get a land and some opportunity right in the backyard of America? Let's finish saying what he got to say, though.
It's a chance to train the U.S. Navy on the difficult job of tracking a Russian submarine. So the
difficult job
that had 2 destroyers plus 2
the
ships.
difficult job of tracking. So the Americas is already losing submarines trying to track them. These Russians have some type of an advanced technology to where the Americans continue to lose these people. So this man is saying, hey, let's not trip too much. Let's just try to allow them to come over here so we could see where they're where the submarines going, how we gonna track them, what routes they taking, how far they're going underneath. The man is saying, let's track these people. But instead, some other shit going on.
That are equipped with a special kind of sonar that you tow behind you and get down deep where the submarine is operating, plus maritime patrol planes to shadow this Russian flotilla as it comes across the Atlantic. And incidentally, once they got close to Cuba, the Russian ships were also tracked by unmanned sail drones, these little unmanned sailboats.
So obviously, Russia is not in American waters. They have to be somewhere outside of American regulation. But America military is tracking these people with unmanned drones. How much of a provocative? How much? This is a provoking attempt of tracking. They're unmanned, so you're saying if they get shot down, we're not tripping because they're unmanned. But if you shoot them down, then America will try to bring the might of the American military down on you. How weird.
Fixed with cameras that the Navy is using around the world in place of warships. Now, those Russian ships are in port in Cuba. They're expected to stay there for 5 days, but when they come back out, the Navy will resume shadowing them.
So while the US may pick up some intelligence data, and these vessels were in international waters, it is unusual for them to be in, 30 miles of Key Largo, Florida. What's the messaging Russia's trying to send?
Well,
Now they are in international waters. So obviously, international waters, you can, send unmanned drones to, watch and make sure that these boats and submarines don't go off course. Also to acquire some type of, intelligence on what's going on and how they're moving. But you see that by Russia coming to Cuba, how big of a problem and how big of an offset this is putting America in. This is not no little thing. This is something that can offset America. Russia having a military base in Cuba, remind you, I said Cuba was only about 100 miles from Florida. So America is really concerned, and motherfuckers got to be concerned of what America is doing to make these Russians even want to fortify Havana.
These ships are here to be seen. This is Vladimir Putin displaying his displeasure.
Russia's trying to send.
Well, these ships are here to be seen. This is Vladimir Putin displaying his displeasure with American support for Ukraine. So Cuba announced that these ships were coming.
Now remind you, I told you guys that Russia is going through this similar problem that they're putting America in. Remember, America backs Ukraine. Ukraine wants to join NATO. Russia gave Ukraine the land, told them you can have the land, do any type of politics y'all want, but just don't join NATO. So America, who is an enemy of Russia, is helping Ukraine, which is right in the backyard of Russia. So if you're going to do this to me, this is what Russia is saying. America, if you're going to do this in my backyard with Ukraine, why not I do it in your backyard with Russia? Why not? If people could sit up here and say that Russia is at fault for moving in on Havana, then the United States Army and NATO is wrong for backing Ukraine. Because Ukraine is a part of Russia. But guess what? Havana, Cuba is not a part of the Americas. It's not. So really, in all actuality, America don't got no no say so of what goes on in Russia. I mean in Cuba. Just like they really don't have no say so of what goes on in Ukraine. But the manipulation powers of the Americas, they do that.
Pulled into Havana, they were greeted with a 21 gun salute. But I should also point out that at the same time,
When the Russians came, they were given a 21 gun salute. Why? Obviously, these people are happy to see the Russians there. America just took off the travel ban to Cuba. So now people could travel to Cuba. Maybe they're going to take it back. But you could travel anywhere. So why is America falling out too close for comfort? But you're doing the same thing in Ukraine.
Putin is sending this message with 4 ships in the Caribbean. The U.S. is participating in a much larger NATO exercise at the same time in the Baltic Sea, which is right in Putin's backyard.
Now let me play that right back because he says a
NATO exercise at the same time.
And who runs NATO? Who is the main powers of NATO? Who constructed NATO? Who formulated NATO? It was the American government that forced all the other scary countries underneath their power of one rule called NATO. North Atlantic Trade Operation, whatever it is. So it is okay for America to conduct and obstruct military might in Ukraine? What other than, Ukraine wants to join NATO? Okay, but what if Cuba, Havana wants to join the USSR? How can you be mad with that? You kill my dog, I kill your cat. Tit for tat. If you don't like it, you're going to have to do something about it. And this is where the American people need to wake up and realize and say, hey, y'all motherfuckers is playing with our lives. Y'all not only fucking up the politics, but y'all are actually playing with our lives because these Russians ain't finna be discriminate. They ain't finna say, we gonna just set bombs that only go to Beverly Hills and Hollywood and shit like that. Like, nah. It's innocent people that don't want none of this shit to go down. But this is how hypocritical America is. And I'm gonna leave y'all with this. America is mad that Cuba and Russia is collaborating. They fucking with each other. America don't own neither one of them. But let's see what America is doing in Russia.
In the Caribbean, the U.S. is participating in a much larger NATO exercise at the same time in the Baltic Sea, which is right in Putin's backyard.
So the Americans can do a NATO exercise within this exercise, it can take over a whole country and say, hey, well, Russia, you're going to have to accept it. Russia ain't even going to war with nobody. Hey, we're just going to come over here. We're doing the same exercise you're doing over there, but it's not a war exercise. People need to wake up to see what these people are doing. It's no common decency. America is not about that. So I say to the American people, y'all want to be worried about these ships from Russia coming over here conspiring to do whatever it is they do? How do you think the Russians feel with America and Ukraine? How do you think they feel? You don't think that they tired of America? So Putin is gonna show his enormous might to tell America, say, hey, I'm not scared of y'all. I got same type of shit. I got the same type of weapons. And some of these weapons y'all can't even be on. Y'all not even, y'all can't even find them. Y'all losing us. This is what's going on. This is what it is in politics. And don't be fooled. Keep your eye open. And why not? Why wouldn't the Cubans, after having to go through the Bay of Pigs, having to endure 50, 60 years of embargo, of not being able to get enough sustenance to flourish their little bitty country, their little bitty, their little bitty country. America has placed them to be on the back radar. But Cuba has some of the best doctors in the world. They hire them out to other Latin countries. Healthcare free. Going to school free. But none of that is here in America. America is always trying to bully and dominate other people that have a better way of living than America made out. People are pulling away from America because the American dream that America has sold to people has become a nightmare. It's becoming a nightmare. People are waking up not having enough money to go get groceries, enough money to send their kids off to college, enough money to pay for graduations, enough money to, if they get in an accident, have a new car to buy. Like, it's just become the American dream is being exposed as America's greed. Until next time, though, man. Be nice to each other. Be nice to yourself. And it's that time again, as always, to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell another motherfucking friend. Share, like, and subscribe to this. Don't miss out.